There's something most spiritual teachers won't tell you, something so subtle that even those deep on the path of awakening often miss it. And it's this: your light can dim, your vibration can shift, not from a dramatic fall or a massive trauma, but from slow, quiet erosion. And when it happens, you rarely notice it at first. You keep doing your practices. You meditate. You say the words. You wear the crystals. But something inside you has started to change, not in a way others can easily see, but in a way your soul can feel. You start sensing that your light, once radiant, once effortless, is flickering. And it's not because someone took it from you. It's because you allowed something in. This journey isn't just about ascending into the light. It's about maintaining that light in a world full of noise, distractions, and spiritual traps designed to pull you off course without you even realizing it. The truth is, your vibration is not fixed. It's alive, fluid, responsive. And if you're not fully aware of the energetic contracts you're signing on a daily basis through your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, your relationships, then what once was light can very quickly begin to lean into shadow. That's not failure. That's a call to wake up deeper. So let's go there right now. Let's talk about the early signs so subtle they often masquerade as normal, busy, or just a phase. But they're not. They're spiritual red flags that your light is shifting toward a darker vibration. And the first sign is this: you begin to disconnect from your inner knowing. You'll notice it because your intuition, once sharp and instant, begins to feel fuzzy. Doubt creeps in where there was once clarity. You second-guess your gut, your dreams, your pulls. It's not that your intuition is gone, it's that your connection to it has weakened. And that weakening begins when you trade presence for performance. When you start living more from your mind than your soul, ask yourself right now, when was the last time you made a decision purely from your inner knowing without needing to explain or defend it? If it's been a while, you may already be shifting. And the danger in that shift isn't just confusion, it's that you start looking outside for answers you once carried within. That's how the dark vibration begins. It doesn't kick the door down. It whispers. It seduces. It tells you to be realistic, to play it safe, to just compromise a little. And every time you say yes to those whispers, your light dims a little more. The second sign is emotional numbness. You don't feel joy like you used to. The things that once lit you up now feel dull. You're not necessarily sad, you're just not alive. You scroll. You repeat. You go through the motions, and your soul begins to suffocate under the weight of routine. This spiritual numbness is dangerous because it doesn't scream. It whispers in your habits. It hides in your rituals. It pretends to be peace, but it's actually resignation. You're not calm. You're disconnected. And the moment you start confusing numbness with neutrality, your vibration begins descending without resistance. The third sign is subtle, but it's loud in the energetic realm. You begin attracting chaos that feels oddly familiar. Not the type of chaos that surprises you, but the kind that feels like a repeat pattern. Toxic conversations, draining people, sudden confusion. It's as if you're reliving an old frequency you thought you outgrew. That's because you did outgrow it, but you've unconsciously slipped back into resonance with it. And energy doesn't lie. When your light dims, you stop attracting what's aligned with your highest self and start magnetizing what matches your current self. That's the law of vibration. Not what you want, but what you are. So pause right now and ask, what cycles keep repeating in your life and why do they feel so familiar? That familiarity is your soul trying to show you something. It's not punishment, it's feedback. Your vibration has shifted, and the world is mirroring it back to you. The fourth sign is a growing resistance to stillness. You used to crave silence. Now it makes you uncomfortable. You used to enjoy your own company. Now you need noise, distraction, entertainment. You fill every spare moment with scrolling, talking, consuming. You tell yourself you're just busy, but deep down, you know you're avoiding something. That something is your own essence. When your light energy is intact, stillness feels like home. When it's shifting, stillness becomes threatening because it reflects the very truths you're trying to avoid. And the longer you avoid those truths, the darker your vibration becomes, not in a scary way, but in a disconnected way. You lose access to your own depth. These signs are not judgments. They are invitations. Invitations to return, to remember, to realign. Because the truth is, your light doesn't disappear. It waits. It waits for you to choose it again. But choosing it means being honest. It means asking hard questions. It means sitting with discomfort. And it means reclaiming your energy not by force, but by awareness. So here's the question I want you to sit with until the next part. What are you allowing into your life that your higher self has already outgrown? That question alone can shift your vibration, because awareness is the first spark of light in the dark.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
There's a moment on every spiritual journey where the world begins to feel unfamiliar. The colors fade, the joy blurs, the synchronicities stop flowing. And suddenly, life starts reflecting back not the radiant potential you once felt, but a heaviness, a distortion, a weight that seems to follow you everywhere. You try to shake it off, but it lingers. You blame circumstances, people, bad timing. But deep down beneath all the noise, you know something shifted inside. The world hasn't changed. You have. And what you're seeing outside is nothing more than a mirror of what you're vibrating within. The most powerful revelation I ever had came not during meditation, but during a season of profound confusion. I was doing all the right things, reading the books, chanting the mantras, drinking the green juices, but my life felt off. People were reacting to me differently. Opportunities dried up. Relationships felt strained. I started to wonder if I was under some kind of spiritual attack. But the truth was, the only attack happening was the one I allowed inside myself. I had abandoned my light, not dramatically, but gradually, through small compromises, through self-betrayals in the name of keeping peace, through ignoring the whispers of my intuition in favor of logic or people-pleasing. And when you abandon your inner light, even subtly, the mirror of the world does not lie. It turns black, not to punish you, but to wake you up. Because the universe is merciful like that. It doesn't let you drift into darkness without alerting you. It shows you reflections through people, patterns, breakdowns, and even silence that something is off. And the more you resist those reflections, the louder they get. The more you deny your own misalignment, the more the world reflects distortion, conflict, scarcity, and confusion. Let's be real. It's easy to blame the world when things fall apart. It's easier to say, they changed, or the energy out there is dark, than it is to say, I stopped listening to my own soul. But that's the medicine. That's the mirror's purpose. When the world reflects darkness, it's not about them. It's about you. It's about whether you're still aligned with your truth, or whether you've started outsourcing your safety, your worth, your clarity to forces outside of yourself. And that brings us to the fifth alarming sign. You start seeking external validation to feel spiritually alive. You chase signs. You binge watch spiritual content. You ask other people what they feel about your energy. And listen, there's nothing wrong with guidance or learning. But when you need those things to feel connected, when you start depending on someone else's insight to know what's true for you, you've already forgotten your own light. You've outsourced your divinity. And in that outsourcing, your vibration lowers. Not because you're doomed, but because you've disconnected from the inner source that never needed proof in the first place. The sixth sign is subtle but sharp. You start resenting others who are still in their light. You scroll past someone radiating joy or success, and instead of feeling inspired, you feel bitter. You question their authenticity. You assume they're faking it. You start projecting your own inner misalignment onto their visibility. And that's not because you're a bad person. It's because your soul misses its own light. and it hurts to see others living in alignment when you feel lost in shadow. But instead of turning that resentment outward, what if you turned it inward, not as shame, but as invitation? What if those people aren't triggers, but reminders of who you used to be and who you can be again? Because here's the truth, your light is not gone. It's just buried under layers of fear, fatigue, disconnection, and distraction. And the only way to reclaim it is to stop blaming the mirror and start adjusting the source. That source is inside you. It always was. And the moment you remember that, the mirror will change. Not because the world changed, but because you did. So I want to ask you something deep, something most people avoid. When did you last feel truly proud of the way you handled your own energy? Not your achievements, not your performance, but your inner alignment. Can you remember a time when you felt so clear, so true, that the world responded with flow and grace? That wasn't luck. That was vibration. That was you living from your light. And if you did it once, you can do it again. But it starts by owning that the black mirror is not a curse, it's a call. And that brings us to the seventh sign, perhaps the most alarming of all. You stop dreaming. Not the kind of dreams you have at night, but the kind where your soul reaches towards something greater. You stop visualizing your highest path. You stop believing in miracles. You settle. You shrink. You say it's fine when your soul is screaming that it's not. And that right there is the darkest vibration of all, not fear, not anger, but resignation. Because when you stop dreaming, you stop creating. And when you stop creating, your light flickers. But it's never too late. The mirror can shift. The dream can return. The light can reignite. It just takes one decision: to stop looking outward for permission and start turning inward for remembrance. There is no darkness that cannot be transmuted. None. And that's not a pretty affirmation, it's a universal law. The very nature of light is that it cannot be destroyed, it can only be obscured. And yet, when you're in the shadows, when your vibration has sunk, when your dreams feel distant, when your joy feels like a memory, it's easy to believe the light is gone forever. But what if the darkness isn't your enemy? What if it's your teacher? What if the very heaviness you're carrying is holding the blueprint for your return? This is the part most people miss. They try to escape the dark by running back to what once worked: old routines, forced positivity, surface-level rituals. But you can't bypass your way to radiance. You have to alchemize your way there. Alchemy isn't about rejecting the shadow. It's about transforming it, turning the lead of your lower vibration into the gold of spiritual wisdom. And that process can't happen in denial. It happens in radical presence, in sitting with what hurts, in asking the deeper questions that most avoid. So let's start there. Ask yourself this: what part of me have I abandoned in order to appear spiritually okay? Because that's where your power is trapped. Every time you deny your anger, your grief, your confusion just to keep your light image intact, you exile a piece of yourself. And light cannot fully return until all parts of you are welcomed home. The path to radiance isn't perfection. It's integration. It's becoming whole again. Not by pretending you're always high vibe, but by embracing every layer of your being as sacred. There's this idea that to be spiritual is to be above the mess. But the truth is, the most powerful light workers I know are the ones who've walked through hell and didn't deny it. They didn't spiritually bypass their pain. They didn't hide their breakdowns behind Instagram quotes. They leaned in. They faced the guilt, the shame, the fear. And in doing so, they found the part of themselves that could never be broken. That's where the radiance lies. Not in pretending to be light, but in remembering you always were, even in the dark. So how do you start turning that darkness into power? First, you stop resisting it. Resistance is what feeds the shadow. Whatever you resist persists because resistance is energy. When you stop fighting the darkness and instead observe it, something magical happens. It loses its grip. You become the witness, not the prisoner. And from that place of witnessing, you can begin to extract the lessons. Because every dark vibration carries a message. Maybe it's telling you where you've been leaking energy. Maybe it's showing you what you've been tolerating that no longer serves you. Maybe it's reflecting the version of you that's dying so something greater can be born. Next, you reclaim your voice. One of the clearest signs that your light is returning is when you stop diluting your truth, when you no longer shrink to keep others comfortable, when you speak from your soul even if your voice shakes. Because every time you do that, you signal to the universe, I remember who I am. And the universe responds. It starts aligning people, opportunities, and synchronicities to match your reclaimed frequency. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. But let's go even deeper. Radiance isn't just about energy. It's about responsibility. There's a reason your light matters. Your vibration impacts more than just you, it affects everyone around you. When your light dims, the people you're here to uplift feel that absence. When your light shines, it gives others permission to shine too. That's not New Age fluff. That's energetic law. You are a lighthouse. And lighthouses don't go running into the storm to save ships. They stand tall, anchored in their own clarity, so others can find their way. That's how you serve the world, not by fixing everyone, but by being so lit from within that you become a map back to truth. So what does it actually look like to reclaim your radiance day by day? It looks like choosing integrity over image. It looks like turning down the volume of the world so you can hear your own soul. It looks like protecting your peace like it's sacred because it is. It looks like saying no without guilt, saying yes without fear, asking for help when you need it, creating like your life depends on it, resting like your spirit deserves it. And most of all, it looks like remembering that your light doesn't come from anyone else, it comes from within. You don't have to wait for a sign. You don't have to wait to feel ready. You can begin now, even if your light feels like a flicker, even if your heart feels heavy, even if you've made mistakes, especially if you've made mistakes, because those are the ashes from which your fire can rise. And when it does, when you reclaim your radiance not as a performance, but as a birthright, everything begins to change. Not all at once, but cell by cell, thought by thought, choice by sacred choice. So I leave you with this. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to be light and simply allowed yourself to remember that you already are? Sit with that. Breathe with it. Let it rearrange your cells. Because the path back to radiance isn't about becoming something new. It's about returning to what you've always been. There comes a moment after the darkness lifts, after the inner alchemy has begun, where you realize the real journey isn't just about reclaiming your light, it's about protecting it. Because once you remember who you are, once you taste the clarity of your true vibration, the world doesn't suddenly make it easy to maintain. In fact, it often challenges you more. Not because it wants to break you again, but because it's giving you the opportunity to become unshakable, to build a sanctuary so strong within yourself that no chaos, no noise, no external storm can dim your flame again. The truth is, spiritual awakening isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous unfolding. And your light isn't something you unlock forever, it's something you tend to every single day. Like a sacred fire, it needs space, intention, boundaries, and breath. Without that, it flickers. Not because you're weak, but because this world is loud. And that loudness is designed to keep you distracted, disconnected, and dependent. So if you want to carry your light into the world without losing it again, you must create an inner sanctuary, a space within where your vibration is protected, honored, and sovereign. What does that actually look like? It starts with your attention. Your attention is your most powerful currency. Wherever you place it, energy flows. So if your attention is constantly scattered on negativity, comparison, drama, or fear, then your vibration will reflect that. But when your attention is disciplined, when you choose to direct it toward beauty, truth, presence, and love, your energy begins to crystallize. It becomes less reactive, more radiant. You stop being a sponge for the world's chaos and start becoming a tuning fork for peace. But that requires boundaries, and not just physical or verbal ones, energetic ones. You must know what you're available for and what you're not. You must be able to feel in your body when something is draining you, whether it's a conversation, a habit, or even a thought pattern. And the moment you feel that drain, you don't shame yourself. You don't overthink it. You simply adjust. You come back to center, because your peace is not up for negotiation. Your light is not a public utility. It is sacred. And sacred things are protected fiercely, not out of fear, but out of respect. That's what your inner sanctuary is. It's not some imaginary safe space where nothing touches you. It's a state of being where you are so grounded in your truth that even when the world shakes, you don't. When your sanctuary is strong, you don't need to run from darkness, you meet it with light. You don't need to prove your worth, you embody it. You don't need to be liked, you need to be authentic. And that authenticity becomes your shield, not a wall, but a radiant field that repels what's false and attracts what aligns. So, let's get practical. How do you build that field? You start with ritual, not routine. Ritual. Intentional acts that tell your soul, I am here, I am listening. I will not abandon you again. Maybe it's morning silence. Maybe it's writing. Maybe it's movement or prayer, or simply placing your hand on your heart and breathing. It doesn't have to be long or elaborate. It just has to be real. Because every time you honor your light with presence, you strengthen your field. You remind yourself that your energy matters. And when your energy matters to you, it starts mattering to the universe. But the sanctuary isn't just about what you do, it's about what you release. You release the need to be understood by everyone. You release the guilt for choosing yourself. You release the version of you that was addicted to struggle, confusion, or chaos. You grieve it if you must, but you let it go. Because the more weight you drop, the higher your vibration rises. And from that higher vantage point, you begin to see clearly again. You begin to trust again. You begin to dream again. And maybe that's the ultimate sign that your light has returned, not just that you feel good, but that you feel free. Free to be yourself without apology. Free to create. Free to walk away from what doesn't serve you. Free to stand still in your truth while the world spins around you. That's not just spiritual health. That's spiritual power. So I'll leave you with this final question, the one that will echo in the chambers of your inner sanctuary if you let it. What would your life look like if you fully trusted your own light? Not halfway, not conditionally, fully. What would you say? Who would you become? What would you release? What would you create if you knew that your light was the most unshakable force in your life? Because it is. And now, you remember,